All right, let's talk Microsoft Fabric. Chances are, if you're using it, you're using its capacity. But the real question is, are you managing it? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the engine that powers your entire analytics platform so you can keep things running smooth and, avoid those nasty surprises.
Sound familiar? This comes from a real Fabric user. And wow, does it nail the anxiety a lot of people feel? You've got this awesome, powerful platform, but there's this little voice in the back of your head, right? Worrying that just one bad job could bring the whole thing grinding to a halt. So, in this explainer, we're going to tackle that fear head on and show you how to get back in the driver's seat.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. What is Fabric capacity? Think of it like this. It's your own private, dedicated chunk of the Microsoft cloud. It's this reserved pool of raw power, we're talking CPU, memory, that fuels absolutely everything you do in Fabric. And I mean everything, from a simple Power BI report all the way to a super complex Spark notebook. It all draws from this one central well of power.
And how do we measure all that power usage? Well, it all comes down to one single universal currency, the capacity unit, or CU for short. Every single thing you do, no matter how big or small, it has a price tag, and that price is measured in CUs. This is really the bedrock of the whole system.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. If you really want to master your capacity, you have to understand the rules of borrowing. These are the two big concepts that give Fabric its incredible speed, but also, they introduce some risk. We're talking about bursting and smoothing. The first thing you absolutely have to get is Fabric's whole philosophy. It is built for one thing and one thing only: speed. Its entire reason for being is to grab whatever job you throw at it and just finish it as fast as humanly or, computationally possible. This obsession with performance, it's the key to understanding everything else.
And a perfect way to think about this is Fabric on an adrenaline rush. You know how an adrenaline rush gives you that short-term, almost superhuman burst of strength? Fabric has a built-in mechanism that does the exact same thing for your jobs. It gives them a temporary but massive boost in performance. And that mechanism is called bursting. So bursting basically lets you punch way above your weight class. The system will automatically give you access to more computing power than you're actually paying for with your plan, with your SKU. Why? To get your job done faster. But, and this is a big but, there's no such thing as a free lunch. When you burst, you are literally borrowing that power from your own future.
This slide is a perfect, simple example. Let's walk through together. Okay, so at time T1, your job kicks off and it needs 30 CUs of power. Problem is, your capacity only has 10 CUs available right now. Does it fail? Nope. Fabric just instantly borrows the extra 20 CUs it needs from the next two time slots, T2 and T3. The result? Your job runs super duper fast. But here's the catch. You've just created a debt. You spent your future compute power all at once to get that speed.
Right, so every loan needs a repayment plan, and Fabric is no different. In the world of Fabric, that plan is called smoothing. It's basically just the accounting system that takes the total cost of that bursty job and spreads it out over time. The idea is to soften the blow so you don't feel that entire cost all at once.
But this is where things get really, really important, and frankly, a little bit dangerous. The repayment window, how long you get to pay back that debt, it all depends on the type of job. For what we call interactive jobs, a user clicking a slicer in a report, the cost is smooth over just 5 minutes. Pretty manageable. But for background jobs, things like a scheduled data refresh or a notebook run, that cost is smoothed over a massive 24-hour period, and that is huge. What this means is that one single runaway background job can effectively poison your capacity for an entire day, which leads us right to the consequences. What happens when you borrow too much and can't pay it back fast enough? You enter the world of throttling. And this is the price you pay for overloading the system.
Now, throttling isn't just some on-off switch. Oh no, it's a journey, a path with escalating penalties. For the first 10 minutes that you're in debt, you're okay. That's overage protection. Everything runs normally. But once you cross that 10-minute line, you hit interactive delay. Your users will start to notice. Reports take 20 seconds, 30 seconds to load. Let that debt keep growing for an hour, and now you're in the danger zone. Interactive rejection. Users aren't just delayed, they are flat out rejected. They get an error message, they can't do their work. And the absolute worst case scenario, if your debt grows so large that you owe more than 24 hours of capacity, you've hit the disaster zone, background rejection. Now even your critical overnight data refreshes start to fail.
And if you think that sounds theoretical, let me share a true cautionary tale. A single data flow, just one,
ran for 17 hours and racked up a mind-boggling 210,000% of capacity debt. The fallout? Interactive rejections, people getting blocked from their reports, persisted for nearly 3 full days. The business was basically held hostage while the system slowly, painfully paid back that enormous debt.
Okay, I know that sounds absolutely terrifying, right? But here's the good news. You are not powerless in this situation. Now that we get the risks, now that we understand the rules, we can talk about the tools and the strategies you need to go from confusion and fear to being in total proactive control. And your number one weapon in this fight is the Fabric Capacity Metrics app. Seriously, you need to think of this as the cockpit for your capacity. It's a free app from Microsoft, and it gives you this incredibly detailed view into exactly what is happening, who's using what, and when your capacity is getting stressed. And when you get into the app, you'll see charts, just like this one. In a single glance, you can see which types of things, which artifacts, are your biggest capacity hogs. In this example, it's crystal clear, right? The data warehouse is eating up the most resources. This is pure gold. It tells you exactly where you need to focus your cleanup efforts to get the biggest bang for your buck. No more guesswork. Okay, so once the app points you to the culprit, how do you actually fix it? Here are 4 of the biggest best practices. First, fix the model. For your Power BI datasets, you've got to move to a star schema. That's that simple hub-and-spoke design. It is dramatically faster for the engine to process than a giant, messy, flat table. Trust me on this. Second, simplify your queries. All those complex multi-step merges you have in Power Query, they can be silent capacity killers. Look for ways to streamline them. Third, optimize your visuals. Be really careful with those giant table visuals. You know the ones I'm talking about, the ones that are really just there so users can export the data to Excel. They create a huge interactive load every single time that report gets opened. And finally, govern your endpoints. You have to be super careful with who connects to your models using tools that use the XMLA endpoint. A single badly written query from an outside tool can absolutely bring your entire capacity to its knees. And all of this brings us back to that final, really crucial question. Is your capacity working for you, or are you working for it? By understanding these rules of borrowing and repayment, by using the tools, you can absolutely move from that state of fear to a state of control. You can tame this beast, and you can truly, finally unlock the incredible power of Microsoft Fabric. Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.